Here we are with a classic. Hey folks, so you're probably wondering why is it that you're showing us an old internet meme. I'm not. I'm actually going to play Zero Wing, and this is the original game that it was made by Toaplan, absolutely legendary arcade game developers in the 80s and 90s. And but yeah, the as you can see, the intro is really badly translated, and it's very, very funny, which is it's unintentionally funny as well, because you know it was just a bad translation, unfortunately, on Toaplan's part, and it's a real shame, because actually as an intro it's incredibly powerful. I think it's a really, really, I mean, this is like a Sega Mega Drive or Sega Genesis 1991 shmup, basically shoot 'em up, shooting game, whatever you want to call them. But the intro to it is actually really, really solid. It's like better than most of the intros that you get in games at that time. But it just became this unintentionally hilarious meme because of the translation. So those of you who are not new to the internet like me will remember the All Your Base meme very well. So the reason why I'm showing you this, by the way, guys, is because I've finally, after loads of messing around, I've managed to get my MiSTer FPGA system working. And well, it wasn't hard to get working, but I had to collect quite a lot of stuff in order for me to be able to get the get it onto YouTube, essentially, because I needed a new cam link, because I have to record the MiSTer directly with an Elgato cam link 4K, and so I had to get a second one because I already used one of those for my fancy Sony camera that I use for my webcam, and for my main camera. So yeah, it's been a bit of a faff around, and I've been trying to figure out things, but this is going forwards. I'm going to be covering a lot of retro games, because I don't just play strategy games. In fact, in my spare time outside of work, I mostly do not play strategy games. Okay, the vast majority of the games that I play are either arcade games, fighting games, shmups, or things like, I play kind of games like Metal Gear Solid 5, stuff like that, kind of a lot of like some normie games like that. So I don't just play like really complicated strategy games. But I'm thinking more about video gaming in terms of games design and kind of games commentary. I think retro gaming is absolutely crucial to look at, and I just like playing these old games as well. So the reason why I'm playing this is partly because I wanted to just kind of obviously the All Your Base meme is always going to be great, but I'd actually quite like to play Zero Wing as well. This is a really good game. It's not Toaplan's best game, I don't think, but it's definitely a really, really fun horizontal shoot 'em up. So let's play. I'm going to put it on hard. I'm not particularly great at this, by the way, so I don't know how far I'm going to get into the game. I'm just going to turn the game volume down a little bit now, so that you can hear me a little bit better over it. There we go, something like that. So what am I doing? So I'm playing using my this is an 8BitDo M30 2.4 gig version, 2.4G version. I'm using it wired, as you can see, so there's very, very low input latency. Playing on a MiSTer using the Sega Genesis core, or the Mega Drive core. The input lag on the M30 is really, really low. it's something like it's somewhere between 1 and 3 milliseconds. It's negligible. So unless you're like a really high level shmup player, you're not going to notice that, I don't think. I'm also playing, I've got a CRT TV over this side, which you cannot see obviously, although I might take a photograph of it later for you to see. I usually play these games on a CRT that's sat on my desk to the left of my two gaming monitors, or work desk monitors, whatever you want to call them. Now the display latency is almost zero with the CRT. It's like basically zero, so it's really nice. It's a very authentic way of playing the game, especially if you're wanting high performance. But at the moment, just out of convenience, while I'm recording, I'm actually recording this using a monitor, PC monitor, and I haven't measured the input latency on it, or the display latency. I have actually got a MiSTer Laggy. For those of you who know the MiSTer stuff, you probably know what I mean. It's like a lag testing device, but I don't, because I use the Heber Multisystem 2 MiSTer. It's like it's Heber Multisystem 2 analog is what I'm using, and I'll probably show you guys a photograph of that at some point. But it doesn't actually by default have the right inputs. You need a user, I think it's called a snack user input, and it doesn't have that input on it, unlike the older Heber model. So I'm waiting for an adapter for that, but I will be able to test the input lag. But I'm guessing on this monitor that I'm using, it's probably somewhere around 2 frames, which is going to be about 36 millisecond. 2 frames would be 30. Let me think about this. 60, 32, yeah, so 32. It's probably somewhere between 2 and 3 frames, which for me is very playable. Like most of the shmups that I play on the PS4, for example, like Battle Garegga, which I'm playing at the moment. And I've got a copy of Death Smiles on there. Battle Garegga, the M2 version, is, I think it's got a 2, I want to say 2 or 3 frame, I want to say 2. If it was 2, it would be very low though. But anyway, yeah, it's pretty low. So I reckon that I'm getting about the same input display latency on the MiSTer playing through one of these displays as you'd get playing on a PS4 with a very high quality port, like someone like M2 shot triggers. But playing on the CRT, it's almost zero. Now, at the level that I play shmups, it's not going to make a whole lot of difference what the input lag is. Obviously, as long as it's like, you know, anything that's less than 5 frames, really, I'll be happy with. So 5 frames would be what, 60, sort of 70 or 80 milliseconds, I guess, something like that. Sorry, my basic maths is bad when I'm trying to do 2 things at once. But yeah, input latency is a really big thing. It's one of the main draws for people using a very high quality, accurate emulation system like the MiSTer FPGA. So for those of you, I'm going to just talk a little bit while I play, by the way, because I really just fancied getting a video up and just chatting to you guys without doing a live stream. So there's going to be lots of random talk in this, and I'm not going to be playing to a high level because I'm not a high level zero wing player. So yeah, I bought this with MiSTer FPGA system basically just out of pleasure. Like, I really wanted to play some old retro games. I already used, I play games emulated on my PC. But like software emulation's kind of got its issues, and sometimes it's really good. Other games, it's not so great on. The MiSTer FPGA on the cores that have been translated over, for the most part, are absolutely flawless. Like, I cannot tell the difference between the SEGA Mega Drive core on the MiSTer FPGA and the actual real SEGA Mega Drive that I've got. I just cannot tell the difference. And it's the same. Like, my memories, I don't own a SNES anymore, Super Nintendo, but I actually gave it away to one of my friends years ago. But the MiSTer FPGA core it's almost exactly the same as far as I can tell. It's just they just feel so similar, even with the music. And the real test of whether something's going to, of whether something is emulated right, is to use the Commodore 64 core and see how well that it does the SID chip emulation, the sound chip on the Commodore 64, which is an analog chip, and it's pretty close. Like the Commodore 64 emulation of the SID feels, the 6581 SID is pretty close, I'd say. And I've got 2 Commodore 64s, and I've got at least 4 SID chips kicking around somewhere because I'm an enthusiast for that stuff. So I've got 4 SID chips in total. I've got 2 actual spare ones. I'm counting the 2 that are actually in my existing Commodore computers. But But yeah, so the MiSTer FPGA, it basically emulates old games consoles, old computer systems, anything from like the late 70s all the way up till about 1998, I think, maybe 2000 in some cases. So I'd say the most powerful systems that it will emulate, that there are working cores for, are Sega Saturn and PlayStation 1, Sony PlayStation 1, and the N64. Now the N64 is pushing things a little bit. I think maybe some of the PlayStation games might do a little as well, but it's pretty damn close. And yeah, I love this thing, man. Like, I've got so much fun out of this. I've still got a ton of Sega Mega Drive games, but I've been playing like quite a lot of stuff, and it's not just kind of like out of nostalgia, right? Because I think that's one of the things that people often talk about when I'm talking about old games. One of the common complaints I get is, well, it's just nostalgia. No, it's not. It's not. Nostalgia is a thing, and it's an important, powerful feeling actually, but it doesn't last long. Like for me at least my experience of how nostalgia works is that nostalgia is a very powerful feeling, but it's gone after, a few minutes. So at least it doesn't seem to affect my kind of critical judgment in a big way. So I kind of get a bit annoyed when people say that, oh, you're just blinded by nostalgia. It's just a really weak argument. I think that, yes, nostalgia is definitely an important thing in terms of how we appreciate things, but it doesn't override critical thinking, okay? And so it's really nice to be able to experience these old games, not just in terms of like, experience that nostalgia and those old, the feeling of the good old days or the bad old days in some cases, but it's actually getting to see how games were made and designed back in those days. Now, Zero Wing is, I think the Sega Mega Drive version, it's 1991, but the original arcade, I want to say 89, so it was about halfway through Toaplan's run, I'd say. Oh, I just got hit there. That bomb on the front of the ship actually died. And yeah, so this is like one of Toaplan's experimental games. So Toaplan themselves say that this was a game that they created to train their staff, to get them up to speed with games development for shoot 'em ups, and so it was never really originally intended for release. And they, everybody did such a great job on it though, and it was such a competitive thing within the company, because in Japan it's very high pressure to perform, and so they really wanted to. Everybody really made their best effort to try to make the best game, element of the game that they could, and all the different staff were doing different levels or different parts of the graphics, so it can feel a little bit mismatched in various ways. But it is still, they made a magnificent game because Toaplan were just top of the game at the time. They made the best shoot 'em up games, really. And so yeah, this is it. And aside from the funny meme that came from the badly translated intro, it's a pretty solid game. Is it the best shoot 'em up on the Mega Drive? No, probably not. I actually think that Slap Fight MD, which is a Sega Mega Drive game that was based on the original arcade game, again by Toaplan, I think that's one of the better Toaplan games actually. I think Slap Fight is incredibly well designed. It's amazing how well it stands up today in terms of gameplay, because it's that classic Toaplan style of game, but it's so strategic in the way that you play it. It's really fun. Here we go. I think we're coming up to a boss soon. So yeah, I play Slap Fight a lot, and I really like that game. Now, the Sega Mega Drive version is kind of interesting because it's got auto fire, and you'll hear like people in the shoot 'em up community arguing sometimes over whether using auto fire is cheating or not. Now, I would say mostly no. Most modern games, it does not matter. They've got auto fire built in, most of them. But on some older games, they can be made trivially easy by playing with auto fire. Slap Fight's one of them, unfortunately. Slap Fight MD anyway, the one on the Sega Mega Drive. If you play it with auto, like I completed Slap Fight MD with auto fire very fast. Like I was practicing it for maybe 2 hours, and then I completed it. That's on normal. Whereas I turned auto fire off, and boy, does that game become difficult. And you got to kind of really hammer the pad, if you want to be able to take the bosses out. But with the auto fire, it's just completely trivial. But yeah. So going forwards, I'm going to be playing more of these kind of games. I really like old shmups. I really like old games. I don't like all old games. Some of them are crap. You know, this was when games design was still in a sort of formative period, I'd say. And, you know, but there's like clearly some great stuff being done. I've got to be careful here. This thing will kill me if I'm not careful. Because I'm really still learning how to play Zero Wing. Okay, there we go. So that's the end of the... I think that's the boss for this stage. I'm just going to get some tea. Just pause the game while I'm pouring my tea. So, yeah, as always, guys, way too lazy to edit videos. Now, Zero Wing's got some cool, like some quite unusual little mechanics. I'll show you one of them. Oh, that's going to be difficult to grab those there, but it's got this little tractor beam on the front, which you can use to grab ships, and you can use them as a shield, or you can fire them off against enemies that are incoming. So, yeah, it's got some kind of weird stuff. Now, when you watch people play when you see people play Zero Wing kind of properly, I think the standard way to try to complete this game is to use the green laser, right? So Toaplan's got this thing where they've got these different coloured power-ups, and in many of their games, in fact, most of their later games, they have these different coloured power-ups, right? So you've got red, you've got blue, you've got green, at least. And you'll see that when you get these power-ups, look, they cycle through. So we've got a green one here, but if I get that one now, with the fully powered up red laser, or the red spread shot, I'll actually get a level 1 homing missile. I don't want that, because I've spent time leveling this one up. So in order to kind of level up your weapons, you have to kind of skip some of the power-ups. So you just get the ones that are the colour that you want to collect. Now, most people seem to play with the green one, the homing laser, or the little homing missiles, whatever they are. I think that's boring. So I actually like to play with the... I'll be a bit careful here. Oh, alright. So we're about to find out that this game's very difficult when you get killed. And this is classic Toaplan style. Once you've lost a life, you haven't got that crazy spread shot or whatever weapon it is you've been working with. So suddenly the game gets a lot more difficult. This is what I've heard people call Gradius syndrome. I think Mark MSX calls it that. So Gradius syndrome, where you die and you lose your power-ups and then you get thrown back and the game suddenly becomes very, very brutally difficult. I don't think Zero Wing's anywhere near as bad as Gradius in that respect. Although, as you can see, it's very nicely designed. Did you see that it kind of trapped me there? Kind of tricks you into trying to grab the power-up before you have defeated the enemies around it. At some point, I'm going to get my... I'm going to bring my PlayStation 4 into the office, plug it in, and then I'm going to play some Garegga, because that currently is my favourite shoot 'em up. I think it's... I've only been playing it for about a month or two, I'd say, a couple of months, and I already think it's one of the best, because it's probably one of the best games ever made, and I do not say that lightly. It's like the quality of the game's design in Garegga is second to none. Now, it's not necessarily a super tight game, like you would expect from a shmup, in terms of you know, player headspace and, you know, available moves that will win at any one position. But it's kind of like a weird sandboxy kind of shmup, not in the sense that, you know, not in the same way that you would have a sandbox game in a strategy game. Look at that. Let's try and take these guys out. But in the sense that it's very, very... It's got so many mechanics in it that you can play around with, even though the game itself is still a shoot 'em up, right? So, you know, it looks kind of simple, but when you play it and you realise the way that the rank system works, and the way that you have to manage rank, and the many, 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 many things that affect rank, it gives you so many strategies for playing the game. Oh. Yeah, I'm out of my depth now. This is about as far as I usually get with Zero Wing on a hard. So, oh no, I've got it on normal. I thought I had it on hard, actually. I've not noticed a huge amount of difference between the difficulty settings on this. I think the bullet speed is one thing that's different on Zero Wing. So yeah, Garegga, that's going to be one that I'm going to be playing soon. Again, it's a game that I'm not great at. I've not completed it, but getting a 1 credit clear on Garegga is very, very difficult. It's a brutally hard game, man, because of the rank system. and it's one of the rare games where. So one of the things that you've all played shmups, right? You've all played some basic form of a shoot 'em up at some point in your lives, I'm sure. If you're watching my channel, you'll all have tried one of these games. And one of the things that's relatively consistent is that your lives, the amount of like retries that you get, is often tied to score, right? So if you get a certain score, you start getting more. You hit a certain high score, and then you'll get an extra life. Now, so you are encouraged to score highly if you can, so that you can get more lives. But often, the way that lives are crucial to your survival are not quite as complex as it is in Battle Garegga. The way it works in Battle Garegga is that you actually have to, the longer you survive and the more stuff you do, the more powerful you get, the more the rank goes up, so the more difficult the game gets. So the better you play, the more difficult the game gets. Now I know people are instantly going, oh god, I hate that mechanic. No, you don't get it. This is the reason why Battle Garegga is so good, and it is a frustrating thing in role-playing games and, and things like strategy games when you've got dynamic difficulty, because, often it feels like you're being punished for getting better. But in a Galaxy Brain decision, Rising decided that no, the better you get at this game, that more the difficulty is going to go up. But we're going to give you loads of tools in order to mitigate that difficulty in various ways, right? And so suicide in your lives is one of them, and that's the main one. So you are encouraged to score as highly as you can by being good at the game and learning loads of the many ways that you can score. Let's see if I can just, sort this out. But then you're also, because when you die, your rank goes down. It will help you. You do need to kind of suicide your lives, so you have to get lots of lives, but then you have to kind of suicide them away. If it sounds weird and unintuitive and annoying, don't worry. It just supports what I think is a really fantastic games design. Okay, I'm concentrating a little bit better here. Try and kill some of these things. Now, I'm not sure. I don't know Zero Wing well enough to know if these just disappear if you wait too long. Okay, yeah, he does. He just flies off. He got bored of me. No, I really want the red shots. I do want the speed up as well. So Toaplan were a company that were making games kind of before the bullet hell era, and their very last game is arguably the first bullet hell game, I guess, which is Batscan. Very fun, interesting, very fun game. Where do I go here? Oh god, how do I go up? I guess so. This is about as far as I've ever gotten in Zero Wing, actually. So you are now watching Battle Mode out of his depth, in his last life. What's next? Go on, Toaplan. There we go. Got a boss of some kind. I'm actually damaging it. Who knows? Yes! There we go. I'm going to grab one of these. There we are. Give myself a shield. So yeah, this is another thing that I was going to talk about while I was playing this before I finish, which is that I think there's going to be some inevitable pushback from some of my long-term fans who are only here for strategy games, for Shadow Empire, for Dominions, Conquest of Elysium, stuff like that, right? And I would encourage you, especially if you're an older person, and you catch yourself saying things like, I can't play these games anymore, I don't have the reflexes for it. That is exactly the kind of person who needs to play these games, okay? Okay, what's this? Oh, it's just a visual effect. So if you think that you're too old to play these games, you should definitely be playing them, because this will help you with your oncoming cognitive decline in your twilight years. That's one of the reasons why that I still do things like juggling and because I'm not that old, right? I'm mid-40s. But if you want to keep yourself sharp, you want to be doing manual stuff, and so don't just sit there playing Gary Grigsby's War in the East that will keep you mentally sharp, but you also want to be doing things that are skill based as well, and these are the best kind of games for them. Okay, you want to be playing stuff hand-to-eye coordination, especially high difficulty, high skill games. So yeah, everybody should be picking up these games, and especially, you know, some of these wonderful older games as well. Like, look at this, man. Look how well these are made. I really love the pixel art in it. Now I've tried to on the recording, I've put a CRT filter over that is as close as I can get it on the MiSTer to the one that I've got on my CRT, you know, my actual cathode ray tube TV. So it's subtle, but it's, you know, I've noticed actually on the recording it's a little tiny bit more blurry than it is on my coming straight out of the MiSTer. So I'm not sure what I need to have a quick look at that, figure out what that is, but it's not too bad. But these pixel art used to be made so that it was made to be displayed on CRT TVs, and they used special effects in their, you know, in the dithering process, you know, or in the pixel composition, in order to make it look good on CRTs, right? And you don't get that with modern pixel art games. Like, I've noticed now, like, so there's some very good pixel art coming out, you know, in modern times. Some of the artists are just so good at it, but what they're not doing is they don't look like the old style, partly because of higher resolution, but partly because they are not using the same techniques in the art composition as they were using originally. Okay, I've actually got to a stage I've never been to before. Let's switch this weapon up, guys. Let's start with the laser. Oh, Jesus. I think it was getting a bit close. Okay. Now, the best designed Toaplan games, like Slapfight and what's the other one? Truxton, they tend to have this system where the developers tried to put they made certain sections of the game easier to defeat with various weapons, right? And I've got no idea whether Zero Wing's designed like that, or whether, you know, which weapons that you should be picking for each section. But I guess I'm about to find out. I'm just curious, folks, to see how long I've been recording. Okay, so nearly half an hour. This is quite a long shoot, man. I'm wondering whether I should try picking one of those things up. This is some of my last life. It seems like probably a bad suicidal move. Another thing that's famous about this game, by the way, is the music is absolutely phenomenal. I forget the name of the composer, but he was also one of the games designers. Like, it was interesting. The guys at Toaplan, they all wore a lot of hats, and so the music composer was also one of the programmers and games designers. And yeah, they're phenomenally talented people who really love these games in a big way. Oh, there we go. Oh, I got an extra life. Okay, well, I'm back in the game. Back in the game with my pea shooter. Let's see if it's merciful. No, I was going to ask, is the game merciful enough to give me something to deal with all this stuff? Yeah, there we are. Okay, well, at least I got my options back. I expect I'm not going to last much longer on this. But a reasonable performance for me for Zero Wing, considering I've really not played this game that much. And I think it's interesting for you guys as well, because I'm pretty sure all of you are old enough to remember the All Your Base meme, right? And that was the first meme that I ever fell in love with. I just thought it was the best thing I'd ever seen. It's just one of those memes that it works on so many levels. And but to realise that the game that's behind it, I don't know. Like, I imagine the developers at Toaplan must be sort of, you know, a little bit kind of disappointed that the game's remembered more for the bad translation than it is for the actual excellent gameplay. Although they've leaned into it a few times. Like on the release of the game, they've re-released this on in various ways, and they actually kept in the bad translation for cats for cats. So all your base are belong to us, because it actually works. If he's this sort of alien, with a different dialect or whatever, it kind of makes sort of sense, I guess, that he might come across as talking in a bit of a weird way. Some of the bosses in this are really strange, man. They look really weird. Here we go. Okay. Shmups are always really tense when you're on your final life. Okay, got to speed up. That's going to make things a little bit easier. Alright, so while this has kind of turned into a bit of a channel update video, and just before I finish, so what's coming up on the channel? Well, I'm actually focusing on meta abuse at the moment a little bit, because I've got a couple of outstanding podcasts to do. So got some video editing. I've been given a whole bunch of games controllers, so by 8-Bit Dough. So 8-Bit Dough very kindly sent me a whole bunch of games controllers to review. So I'm going to do a review of those. And yeah, so you should enjoy that. Like if you're interested in games controllers like I am, I've got loads of games controllers, right? I don't know why, I've just got so many. And so yeah, like I thought I would be well placed to kind of like test these controllers out and just see how they go. And I'll be an honest review as well. I do get sent a lot of games keys and stuff, but I don't often get sent like hardware or peripherals. But I don't need free shit, okay? So I'm not you can trust me to give you an honest review, because my channel has not been built on getting free stuff. So I've always got my objectivity. However, what I will say is as a little bit of a spoiler, 8-Bit Dough stuff's really nice, man. They are really, really good for the price point. So I think you can look forward to that, and you'll be able to see me playing some interesting games. So for those of you who want to see what it's like me trying to play Conquest of Elysium on a gamepad, could be quite amusing for you. All right, folks, thanks for watching anyway. I hope you enjoyed Zeroing. And yeah, so I'm going to be doing more content on retro gaming stuff. It's not going to be the majority of my content, but just as and when I feel like playing some old games, particularly games that I played in the past, right? I'm going to be showing you games that I liked, and whether it's on the old ZX Spectrum or Commodore 64 stuff, Atari ST, Sega Mega Drive, Super Nintendo. There's loads of cool games out there, and some of them are really, really good in terms of like their games design. So I'm going to be talking about things in the future, and hopefully you can get on board with me and check it out. All right, guys, I'm going to leave you with the meme. Take it easy. Okay, main screen turn off.